Hello. Well, you seem to have joined me on a very, very cold and very, very wintry December. In fact, it's been cold all week, and I think it might have something to do with this. That's right, it's been cold all week. A whole week where I've owned the AMG. Hopefully it's not an omen, and hopefully the weather will improve. And actually I know it's going to improve. It's actually going to rain tomorrow, which is why I need to get this job done here. There is no window in here, but that's not the only thing wrong with this car. There's lots of things wrong with this car, and I'll go through that later. But first, I'm going to crack on with this. So obviously, look mum, no glass, that needs replacing. I did have a bit of a weird thing last night. I was in bed and I thought to myself, I wonder if the glass is actually in the door, and somebody clearly just decided that there was no glass in the door and decided to just tape it up with this temporary glass stuff. So I thought, nah, what are the odds of that? I went out, bought a piece of glass. What are the odds of that? Guess what? First rule of car restoration. Absolutely prove and diagnose that the fault is a fault. So it looks like most of the damage is here. We're trying to work out what the hell happened to it, because if you look here on the radiator, there's mud all underneath. We think that it's been driven through a hedge, or it's been driven into a ditch, or it's been driven over a high curb into a ditch, and that will probably explain why a lot of the damage here is where it is. It's missing its radiator here, obviously. It's missing its old colour radiator at the front, and it's missing housing components and components that hang the radiators on. There's the crash bar elements here, the crumple bars here are crumpled, especially on this side. You can see that, I don't know if you can see from the camera, but this isn't aligned to that crash bar anymore, and they're pinched, and they're pinched to act as weak points, so where they will crumple, and this one is very bent at the front. It's all crumpled and bent. So the initial one's there, and then there's a secondary larger one at the back, and that is definitely bent as well. In fact, there's like a, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a retaining arm that's also bent as well. So something's come in this way or that way, and broken it. Anyway, wires, things missing, but we're going to get it done. So I've had the car nearly 3 weeks, and I've been diagnosing what's going on with it. I've been troubleshooting it. I even tried to start it, and I'll come back to that in a second. But over the next few weeks, I'm going to be stripping this down. So this is Christmas week. It's actually Christmas Eve today. I'm going to be stripping this down between Christmas and New Year, taking all of the crash bars off, taking all the front off, and really pulling it apart and trying to work out which parts need replacing and which parts are missing. And it's just little things like this. If you look at the radiator housing here, it's missing on the bottom end. That's meant to have a plastic bar that sits across underneath the radiator there, and that isn't there. This side, it's missing a support arm for that radiator, so that radiator is sagging down because there's no support arm that sits under there. It's been sheared off completely. So it's just little things like that where a full strip down is the only way we're going to get this to, you know, for me to be able to diagnose everything that's going on. And then it's just little things like, if you look on there, if you look here, that's the crash sensor right there, and it's just busted, you know. So it's just little jobs like that, little things that you need for this car to operate that you just get, I'm going to have to go away and find out what it is. But the crash bar looks good. I think there's some subcomponents underneath, like the crash arms, that are not good. They're definitely broken. And then weird little things like little trims here. This little radiator, this oil cooler radiator holder here is broken. I've got those already. They've arrived over the last few days. So they got all those. But yeah, it's going to be this. As I said the other day, it's going to be like a jigsaw. Recovered cars are like jigsaws. You don't know what they're supposed to look like, and you're missing some vital pieces. And you've got to try and understand where they go and what they do. Tried to get the shot as good as I can, but you can see there that there's a vital part missing. Basically, it's got no inner or outer track rod ends on either side of the front steering, which is obviously why the wheels are not steering, and they're just, well, not steering. So that's an issue. So I'm starting to think that someone's tried to put this back together again and has taken it apart to rebuild it and has given up. And I think that's where this car is. And yeah, so if you look there isn't one there. If you go around the other side, it's exactly the same. There are no track rod ends, which is why it's not steering. Apart from the front end, the rest of the car is actually in pretty good shape. The inside of it is actually really nice. There are no scuffs inside. There are no real things to note. It's actually quite clean. It actually looks like it's been looked after quite nicely. Unfortunately, it's had an accident. That's what you get when you get 500 plus brake horsepower in a rear-wheel drive car. If you run out of talent, you run out of talent. It's as simple as that. But the car's pretty good. I mean, the wheels are a bit battered and bruised, but you would expect that, right? It's an old car, and it's been through. I think it's been through a hedge, right? So that's pretty good. But apart from that, everything's pretty good. The stripe will go. I hate it. I'll take it straight back, and I think the colour will go at some stage as well. It's not going to stay white. And I'd like some ideas on what you think it should be. Miami blue is a popular choice at the moment. I also like the Lamborghini yellow as well. But yeah, it's not in a bad place. And underneath, I'll show you some pictures in a second, but underneath it's actually in a good place as well. The issue you get is that Copart like to throw these cars around, right? They got thousands of cars, they don't really care of what happens to them, and they get thrown around a little bit. And they pick them up with forklift trucks, and so it generally squishes the internals underneath, like the exhaust, which, you know, on this car is expensive. So you got to be really careful about how you move them around, but they don't really care. You know, they know people like me are going to probably put a new exhaust on it anyway. But it's fine, underneath it's fine. There's no scuffs or scratches underneath where it looks like it could have been thrown around. And yeah, it's not bad. It's just this bit here. It's just the front end bit, and the fact it doesn't start. But we'll get to that at some stage. I'm going to take my time, and we're going to get through it. That there is the broken tyre arm. It's broken there and there. So that is actually meant to be one piece of metal, and obviously isn't, and is very broken. Now, it's a bit weird why it's broken. And then I decided to have a further investigation. I don't know whether you can see it inside the arch or not, but there is, just there, tied around the exhaust. You see it there, the strap. Hang on. It's there. The strap's all inside. I think the car was crashed and it was pulled out of a hedge or pulled out of a ditch, and they pulled it from the rear, and they decided to do the pulling there on that bit, and they snapped the arm off. You know what? I do think the recovery of these vehicles actually creates more of an issue than the actual crashes do. Anyway. So there you go. That's everything that needs to get done on it. There'll be more stuff that I'll discover as we pull this thing apart. And now, like I said, I'm going to be doing that in the next video. We're going to pull the car apart out the front, take it all apart, understand what's been broken, look at the crash components that have obviously failed because the car's been in an accident, and we'll go from there. And it's just going to be trial and error. I'm going to make loads of mistakes. I'm going to learn loads of new skills and new ideas and new things. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I've never done anything like this before. I'm not a mechanic. I probably never will be, but I want to get this car back on the road. I know I've picked a difficult one to put back on the road, but that for me is part of the challenge. I like being challenged, and I like the idea of that, you know, she is going to purr, she's going to fire up, and she's going to purr, and she's going to sound beautiful, because these cars, C63s, just sound amazing. They're factory exhausts, and the engine together just sound absolutely amazing. I cannot wait for the first pop and bang that comes out the back of this exhaust, and I'm going to make it happen. I think this car has been pretty much abused for most of its life, and I've seen some YouTube footage of this car being driven not very well, basically. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. I want to give it back. I want to give a bit of TLC to this car. I want to make it look good. I'm going to do some upgrades on it now. I'm definitely going to do some upgrades on it if the engine is gone, and finding metal in the oil was not a good start. Now, whether that is metal from the radiator imploding, and that's why the metal bits were in the oil where the oil cooler was, I don't know, or whether it's in the engine. The only way I'm going to know is by dumping the oil out of it and looking at the oil filter and establishing whether there's metal in the oil filter. If there is, it's as simple as that. It's an engine rebuild, but I'm there for it. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm going to turn this C63 into one of the nicest C63s in the UK, without a doubt. I want some suggestions on colours. I want some suggestions on wheels. I want some suggestions of everything. That's the exciting bit, right? But we need to get through the practical bit first. But yeah, I'm up for the fight, and hopefully you are too. So stick along, join in, put some comments in, like, subscribe, do all the great stuff that you guys do. And yeah, that's it. Awesome. Wait for the next video. Enjoy. You know what? I've just thought I need to give her a name. I was thinking maybe like the Snow Queen, and then I thought a little bit harder, and I thought maybe I should just call her Elsa. Elsa or the Snow Queen? You decide.